Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we grab a whole stack of sources. It could be articles, research notes, you name it, and we really try to pull out the key insights. The idea is simple. Give you a shortcut, basically, to being well-informed. Maybe find some surprising facts, keep it interesting. So today, we're diving into a bunch of recent news about international development, all coming from KOICA, the Korean International Cooperation Agency. And our mission, if you will, for this deep dive, it's really to see all the different ways global cooperation is actually making a difference on the ground. We're talking health projects, some pretty cool AI stuff, job training, even disaster prevention. It's a lot. But we want to see how it all connects to sustainable development. Yeah, the sources cover quite a bit. We've got projects in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and like I said, this interesting piece on how AI is being used. It's a real global snapshot.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, I think, is looking beyond just the project list. It's about how these, seemingly separate things actually weave together. They tell a bigger story about, empowering communities, building things that last. So we'll explore not just what they did, but why it really matters for the people there.
Okay, good plan. Let's kick things off in Uganda then. There's a really strong example here of tackling health infrastructure in a big way. This was back on July 4th. KOICA worked with the WHO, the World Health Organization, and Uganda's Ministry of Health. They wrapped up a major health system strengthening project, and it was quite the project. They renovated 28 health centers, 28 in the Uganda district. That's in the Busoga region, eastern Uganda. But it wasn't just, a coat of paint. They supplied medical equipment, set up a cold chain system, which is so vital, right, for vaccines, medicines, especially out where power might be iffy. And they also improved basic stuff like getting clean water, put in wells, rainwater storage, really foundational work. But here's what really caught my eye. They didn't just stop with the buildings and equipment. They actually deployed ambulances and set up an operations committee, basically creating a whole new emergency transport system from scratch. That feels like a game changer for urgent care.
It absolutely is. And this really gets at that holistic idea, doesn't it? It's not just the physical stuff. They also did practical training for, I think it was over 160 healthcare workers on things like maternal care, neonatal care, emergency treatment, and maybe just as crucial, they reached out to the community. Over 2,400 adolescents, nearly 700 teachers got education on health topics, sexual and reproductive health. So you've got the infrastructure, the equipment, the transport, the trained staff, and community awareness. That's how you build something that lasts.
Yeah, that comprehensive approach seems key. You often hear about projects maybe just doing one piece, right? Like building the clinic, but not thinking about who staffs it or how supplies get there. This seems to connect those dots really effectively.
Exactly.
Okay, so from fundamental health systems, let's pivot. Let's talk about innovation and technology and development. On July 3rd, KOICA held an awards ceremony for something called the 2025 KOICA Public Data and AI Utilization Challenge. Which sounds pretty high tech.
It does, yeah. It's a fascinating direction.
The whole idea was participants could use KOICA's public data plus AI tools to develop digital services, basically proposing data-driven solutions to development problems.
So opening up their data for innovation, smart.
Yeah. And the winning ideas are quite interesting. The grand prize winner, the Green Giraffe team, they proposed something called ODA Quest. It's a platform using a large language model, an LLM, to simulate the whole process for planning official development assistance projects, step by step, which, ODA, that's the aid donor countries give. It could be complex to navigate.
Oh, absolutely. That could be incredibly useful, streamlining a potentially bureaucratic process.
Right. And then there were two excellence awards. One was for GROW, from the ASEAL team. That idea uses data from KOICA overseas volunteers to link their experiences to competency analysis and career development. And the other excellence award went to the AI4D team for a Gen AI chatbot. This chatbot is designed to help private companies navigate KOICA's partnership programs with the IBS and CTS programs, helps them write proposals.
So if you take a step back, what this really shows is this powerful trend, right? Using open data, using AI. It can sort of democratize things. It lowers the barrier to entry for understanding complex systems, like that ODA planning process you mentioned. And it brings in new ideas, potentially new organizations, into the development space. It's not just the usual players. It really broadens participation.
That's a great point. It opens things up. Okay, now let's travel quite a distance to Uzbekistan. On June 26th, there was a pretty big milestone there. The first group of candidates successfully passed Uzbekistan's brand new National Technical Qualification exam. And this system was set up with support from the Korean government through KOICA.
Right, this is about building a skilled workforce.
Exactly. Because the context here is pretty stark. Uzbekistan has something like 500,000 young people entering the job market. every single year.
Wow, 500,000. That's immense pressure.
It is. So this qualification system is a direct response, trying to match skills with what industries actually need. The first exam was held back in May. About 200 people took tests, things like car maintenance, welding, electrical work, and 30 of them passed this first round.
Okay, so it's starting. Small numbers initially, but it's the foundation.
Yeah, and there's a nice personal story here, too. A young man, Domuradov Lizabek. He graduated from the Shakrisov's Vocational Training Center. He received the very first certificate. Apparently, his dream is to be an electrical technician, so this gets him closer, makes it real, you know.
Absolutely. And this isn't just a one-off exam system. It's part of a much larger project running from 2020 to 2026. The whole goal is strengthening Uzbekistan's vocational training infrastructure. Koica is actually establishing its 5th vocational training center in the country there. And you mentioned the government support. Apparently, President Mirziyoyev himself visited the site. That level of presidential interest, well, it signals real commitment. They're even planning a dedicated teacher training center in Tashkent. So it's not just about the students passing tests, it's about building the capacity of the instructors too, making the whole system sustainable.
That makes sense. Investing in the trainers is just as important long term. What do you think is the biggest challenge in scaling something like this up, though, given those huge numbers entering the workforce?
Oh, that's a million-dollar question, isn't it? I'd say maintaining quality control across potentially dozens or hundreds of training centers and ensuring the curriculum stays relevant. You know, industry needs change fast. You can't teach skills from 10 years ago. Constant updating is key.
Right, relevance is crucial. Okay, so Uzbekistan is investing in skills, in human capital, but development also requires safety, resilience, which brings us to Indonesia. On June 25th, Koica finished up the second phase of a long-term project. It was focused on flood forecasting and warning in the Citarum River Basin. This project actually ran for 12 years.
12 years, that's a serious commitment. And the Citarum is vital, isn't it?
Hugely vital. The river supplies something like 80% of Jakarta's water for drinking, for everything. And it supports, well, around 25 million people living in that whole metropolitan area. But it's prone to terrible flooding. Partly geography, but also, urbanization, deforestation have made it worse over the years.
Yeah, a classic challenge in many rapidly developing regions.
So Koica took this multi-phase approach. Phase 1 set up a real-time monitoring system just in the upper parts of the river. Then Phase 2, the one they just completed, expanded that system to cover the entire river basin, including downstream near the coast.
So full coverage now. What did that involve practically?
Well, installing a lot of tech. They put in 85 monitoring and warning devices, things like automatic rain gauges, water level recorders, and they set up an integrated control center. So all that data, rainfall, river levels, gets collected, analyzed, visualized in real time. It gives them a much better chance of issuing early warnings before a flood hits.
Okay, the technology is impressive, but, a warning system is only as good as the response to it, right? Did the project address that side of things? Because maintaining complex tech in the long run can also be a challenge.
Good question. Yes, they did. Beyond the hardware, they specifically included training and workshops for local officials, for the technicians who have to run the system, and importantly, they ran evacuation drills with residents in flood-prone areas.
Ah, okay.
That's key. Yeah, so it's building that local capacity, community preparedness, trying to shift from just reacting after disaster strikes to being proactive, knowing what to do when the warning sounds.
That combination of tech and human preparedness, that's where resilience really comes from.
Definitely. Okay, one last stop on our global tour. Let's head to Colombia. On July 4th, Koica's office there held an event called the 2025 Koica Development Cooperation Partner Day, Portraits of Cooperation.
Partner Day sounds like a focus on collaboration.
Exactly that. It was all about bringing different organizations together. About 30 groups attended, and these were some major players. The IOM, International Organization for Migration, UNODC, the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, UN Women, UNDP, the UN Development Program, plus representatives from Colombian government ministries. So a real mix of international agencies and local government.
That's quite a gathering. What was the focus?
Sharing successful projects and, strengthening those partnerships. They highlighted a few examples. One was a project focused on women's empowerment and gender equality, which Koica is doing with UN Women and UNFPA, the UN Population Fund. Another really interesting case study came from Putumayo, down in southern Colombia. There, Koica and UNODC worked together to help former coca leaf farmers switch to growing sacha inchi.
Sacha inchi.
Yeah, apparently it's this highly marketable wellness crop, like a superfood nut.
Hmm.
And the project didn't just help them grow it also helped improve the distribution channels so the farmers could actually get better prices, maximize their profits.
Providing a viable, profitable alternative. That's crucial for crop substitution to work.
Right, a sustainable alternative.
So this partner day, looking at the bigger picture, it really underlines something we've seen in the other examples too, doesn't it? Effective development just isn't a solo mission. You need to bring together different strengths, different areas of expertise, different resources, whether it's combining health infrastructure with training like in Uganda, or tech with community drills like in Indonesia, or here, UN agencies with local farmers. This kind of event, it's about reinforcing those connections, maybe sparking new ideas for working together. It's building that network, that ecosystem for change.
Yeah, building the network. That seems like a good way to put it. So wrapping this all up, what's the takeaway for you listening in? We've gone from health systems in Uganda to AI challenges to job skills in Uzbekistan, flood warnings in Indonesia, and finally partner collaboration in Colombia. It's a pretty wide range, but you can see the threads connecting them.
Definitely. I think it shows how interconnected development really is. Health, education, technology, environment, partnerships, they all influence each other. And maybe it highlights that, knowledge is great, but it's really valuable when you can understand it, apply it across these different situations. Critical thinking is key when you see all this diverse information.
Yeah, we hope this deep dive gave you maybe some facts you didn't know, but also a clearer sense of the actual tangible work happening globally. It's not just abstract concepts. It's projects making a real difference,
Yeah.
building capacity, fostering partnership.
Right. And maybe something for you to think about. Consider how these specific projects, often very localized, driven by international cooperation, how do they ultimately add up? How do they contribute to those bigger global goals we talk about? Health security, economic opportunity, climate resilience, and maybe are there opportunities even just to learn more about similar kinds of work happening, maybe closer to home or using technology you're interested in? Just something to mull over.
Good thought. Lots to think about. Until next time, keep digging for those insights.